I say welcome, Ozer. Thank you for being here. It is a great pleasure and honor. For those of you that are out there, Ozer and I met probably several years ago. I will not mention the number of years because then it will reveal, certain secrets and ages. But it's been a kind of long journey, and passionate about procurement and supply chain management. And then probably one of the experts in the market on what we're about to see. I mean, the beauty of this SCM talk is two things, I think. I mean, you will probably withdraw more experiences and more exchanges. I hope you will enjoy this. But there's one thing that is key to everyone in this planet is everything that is renewable and all the investments that are going into this kind of market sector, from wind to solar and you name it. I mean, the new nuclear, by the way, I will put it in there, even though it's still discussion, but there is a lot of, a lot of investment, a lot of innovation going into that field. And it's probably the field of the present and the field of the future. So this is one thing that I hope you also, as probably all supply chainers that are around this call, believe in sustainability and how can we preserve this planet better. And then the second is something that has been probably always there. I think it was exacerbated by COVID, and we all felt the bullwhip effect of COVID, and that hammer. It was not a bullwhip, it was probably the biggest bullwhip of ever, and we're still struggling to get supply chains balanced and in control, and essentially that your demand and supply are satisfied continuously. And then you see, I mean, there are two things together. One, a new market, new complexities, new demands, and then, of course, kind of a legacy that is more exacerbated since COVID, which is disruption. So without saying more, I will probably leave you the floor, Mr. Ozer, to introduce yourself, introduce your company. And again, the rules for the audience. All the questions are welcome. I'll try to read them, but put it on real time. I mean, don't wait until the end. We don't have a Q&A session, by the way. We will be here essentially responding and answering the best we can. I will also ask questions to Ozer. So anyway, be my guest and copy with pride. So anyway, Ozer, back to you, my friend. And again, welcome. Let's enjoy this ride together, man.
Thank you very much, Raffaele, having me. And it is my pleasure to contribute to the MBA students, right? I mean, so these are practitioners. These are real things. These are real pains. And let me quickly introduce myself, because you ask yourself, who is this man talking, right? And how reliable he is. Yeah, I'm Turkish origin, Dutch, and we came to this land almost 16, 17 years ago. And I'm blessed with 4 daughters. That's why we believe that I will go directly to heaven, because I suffered enough in this world. And we lived in different corners in the world. But as Raffaele said, yeah, my entire professional life almost in procurement, right? I don't know another thing. And especially last 20 years in energy businesses, it's a conventional grid integration, wind, solar, and I shared the pride working together with Raffaele, and learned a lot. I mean, there are some the managers or your bosses, you look back and you understand who contributed positively. And as an advice, right, try to remember the compliments you have received and forget the insults. And if you succeed in doing this, tell me how. Right, and this is a typical song. Then I will talk about Aquila Capital. I will keep it very quick. My company is a kind of financial investor, and we are also using this investment solutions to develop sustainable infrastructures, and we only invest in the renewable assets. And it's more than 20 years old, and we have about 700 people. It's a not big company, but we have very good passion and purpose. We are only we are using the pension money to invest in the renewable assets, not the oil. So we have developed until now 26 gigawatts, wind, solar, and hydro plants, and we have 15 billion euros are under our management. And you can see we are active in Europe and Asia Pacific. We don't have any footprint in Americas yet, but quite balanced. I mean, our company is quite diversified portfolio, is a kind of risk mitigation. So what are we doing, right? Why we are investing money into renewables? I mean, if you look at the 2050 net zero ambition, right, and there's a huge bet on the renewables, especially solar and wind, right? You can see here, and it's so the electrification will go fourfold, and we will see more electrified cars and hydrogen, and also the grid. I mean, you have solar power plants, you have wind turbines, but if you don't have grid, it is like having a cell phone without a network. You cannot use it, right? I mean, you need the grid. I mean, grid is here. Grid meaning that those overhead cables you see, yeah, we have the transmitting the energy. This is grid, and this is very old. I mean, in some countries it is like 100 years old, and you need to renew it. You need to make it ready for this big integration, right? So if you look at here, the wind will be 15 volts, and the solar will be 25 volts, and the grid will be threefold. That means, for the time being, there is a 70 million kilometer of the cables, but it should go up to 200 million kilometers cables, right? I mean, this is huge. The challenge and the very big, very steep growth expecting us, right? So I will be talking about some pain points, some difficulties affecting us as renewable business, right? I mean, first of all, supply security. And there was a kind of big swing in early 2000, and like many other industries, China developed big capacity, right? I mean, it is in automotive, it is in toys, it is in electronics, it is also in the solar area, right? Because my generation, we were looking for a kind of low-cost country alternative. Instead of negotiating with the European manufacturers, we like to go to China and India, and Raffaele spent a long time in China, and develop suppliers. So it was quick win. It's not quick, but they had a kind of big motivation and unlimited resource of funds. They could do it, right? They invested huge. I mean, if you look at, this is polysilicon on the left-hand side. If you look at 2005, China's contribution was 6% of the global capacity. But you can see that they had a kind of year-over-year big investment, and 2000 to 2020 they reached at 81%. For the time being, we are talking about 85% of polysilicon coming from China. Polysilicon is the main ingredient for the solar panels, by the way.
Correct.
If you look at the solar panels on the right-hand side, in 2005, Chinese contribution was only 1%. Rest was coming from Japan, US, and Europe. It was a kind of Western product. But now China is controlling 80% of the global module production. But also in the red line, you can see the unit price. So they invested in this, they created big capacity, and they created a kind of very steep learning curve, more than 20%. That means every double in installation, price went down like 20%. Without China, and this industry could not achieve this, right? I mean, there are many other industries having the same thing, but this created over dependence on China, right? I mean, because 80% of something coming from China, and if you even take out the global politics and the geopolitics, this is not healthy. This is not sustainable, right? And you should balance your portfolio. And it's not only the polysilicon. For instance, if I tell you the ascorbic acid, what is it? This is vitamin C. 85% of vitamin C is coming from China, right? So there are many other things we don't know, but we are heavily dependent on China. This is one thing. If you look at also this China impact in on how it's progressed from 2010 to 21, right? I mean, China's share increasing drastically. This is other form of the representation. And supply security, there are some critical elements in the right-hand side of this chart, meaning that high impact of this disruption and the likelihood of disruption is this upper right corner, your strategic corner, right? I mean, things can go there very wrong, very likely, and you will be affected by this very badly. So these are polysilicon, lithium, and the copper, grain-oriented steel, cobalt, and the transformers, etc. Why? Because even China, for instance, copper, China is not the main source. It is most of them coming from Chile, but China, the processing them, smelting them, copper, almost 90%. So even if China is not source, but they are manipulating those products, right, in China. That's why this is very, very critical.
But then also, hold on, stay there in that previous page, if you allow me. Just a quick one. I mean, if you go to that quadrant on the upper right, I mean, will you say that also China? I mean, China is obviously there, but what will be the second country in the row for sourcing these kind of materials besides China? I mean, I think China is evidently in all these dots. I mean, the blue, the dark blues, and the light blues. But what about the rest of materials and commodities? What do you think?
You know, unfortunately, natural sources are not equally distributed to nations, right? I mean, it is completely geography, right? If you look at lithium, Australia is the main supplier for lithium, but they are shipping it to China for processing. So you are still dependent on Australia. Maybe if something goes wrong with China, you should develop something similar in Australia. If you take nickel, for instance, Indonesia is the #1 for nickel.
Got it.
Yeah, and if you take copper, as I said, Chile. Right. If you talk about cobalt, you are going into Congo, Central Africa. So, but China's policy in 1990s, they call it the crossing the river with touching the stones, meaning that slow but sure strategy. They built it since 1990s, and they understood the critical elements for each industry. They heavily invested on those. And for instance, rare earth elements. They are so rare that you cannot pronounce their names, right? But you need them for the magnets. And every magnet, you need these elements. You need it in the cell phones, in the microphones, you need it in the electric car, you need it in the wind turbines, you need it many different, or the MR, for instance, magnetic resonance machines.
Correct.
You need them. And the Xiaoping, in 1990s, he said, if they have oil, we have rare earth elements, right? I mean, to control. Going forward, there will be a kind of diplomacy for minerals, right? Because so you cannot simply say that, okay, I will not buy from China. Okay, what is your alternative? China developed this capacity in 20 years with unlimited resource. How can you do it yourself? Think about that. I mean, that's why you need to be tactful, because you cannot make China angry. It's like cornering the dragon, because they tried to do it like a couple of times, and they said, okay, I'm limiting the export for rare earth elements.
And then you are in a short supply. Yeah. Right. Then you are in a disruption, a huge one.
Yes, last November they did for the graphite you need for the lithium batteries. So it is not that easy, right? I mean, it's not that easy. If we are talking about nearshoring, right, friendshoring, bringing this to nearby, but the difficulty there, if you talk about friendshoring, that means you are creating your enemy. You are labeling
Correct.
China as enemy, right? I mean, this is a very
Geopolitical, right? I mean, it goes
geopolitical,
up to there. And by the
emotional,
way, we have,
psychological.
and by the way, also we have a question from Bernard, and I think it's parallel to our discussion. What do you think about the new technologies about the electric batteries? I will try to interpret it as well. I will add my touch there, but substitution. You know, we were talking about lithium in the batteries. It was these shortages, and then now we are coming to see. I know we're leaving the room of your expertise, but it's just an opinion that we would like to hear from you. But then you see technology and innovation comes, and then there are new batteries coming in. They are not so dependent. So the classic substitution of materials when you are so locked up that you look aside and you look elsewhere. Is that happening in your case, guys, in the photovoltaic business?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, this battery area is quite innovative, right? I mean, it is quite chemistry kind of thing, right? You know, what is the substitution for your raw material you need, right? I mean, what is the pros and cons? If you look at our cell phones or some electric cars, they are using the NMC, nickel, magnesium, manganese, cobalt, right? This is quite energy dense, but because of cobalt, there are some labor issue, forced labor issue because of Congo,
All right.
coming from Congo, and the industry develop LFPs like the iron, phosphorus, and the again lithium. It is a bit heavier, but you don't have this headache with cobalt, right? I mean, it is working good and progressing, but I think new wave is the sodium ion, that is like a salt, right? And the I think and the premium advancement is solid state, right? I mean, solid state, I can think about like between 5 to 10 years is coming. It is but they're even using artificial intelligence to find the substitute material.
Correct.
And the whoever finding solution, I think solution will be energy storage, right? I mean, because we can create energy in the nuclear and solar, wind, but there are times you don't need the energy, you need to store, otherwise it will not be efficient. Yeah, but to answer the question, technology going very fast. In fact, there's also a kind of challenge, right? The rapid change of technology for companies like
how to catch up.
Yes,
Correct.
exactly.
Very good, man. Very good. By the way, I remind everyone that is connected and those that are just arriving, be our guest. Just post the questions. I'll try to read them as long as we walk. Okay. Back to you, Ozer.
Yeah. They mentioned is the couple of critical elements like graphite, cobalt, lithium, neodymium, right? This is one of the rare earth element, nickel, copper. We are short, right? I mean, if you compare with the scenarios, net zero scenarios, 2020, 2050, 2030 even, right? And so there will be kind of, because what is happening, as Raffaele said, the Whirlpool effect, right? I mean, everybody thought that there will be shortage for the solar panels. Everybody went and placed big orders, right? And in 2021, this drove the prices drastically high to 30 cents, right? And because everybody thought that they will be caught short because Russia cut the gas and there will be a good opportunity for solar. It is exactly the same behavior that during the COVID, you go to supermarket and buy all the toilet papers and you create a shock, right? And so this is, then price went up and this is drawing attention many investors. Oh, very good product, very high margin, let's invest into this. And you are shooting with capacity, you are ending up a kind of abundance of capacity. Guess what? So price is dropping, right? And this is the cycle. This is a cycle. But if you look at these minerals, so especially copper, copper price is now low, and most of the mines and in Chile and the also in Panama, they are cutting back the investments. They are not investing. This is shrinking the available capacity, and the copper price was around 8,000. Now we are talking about 9,000, and the prediction from, I think, JP Morgan, it will going to reach at $23,000 in 2 years' time. So
Wow.
supply demand is most of everything. Other challenge in the supply security because is labor, because we are using labor to install the solar panels. There's also it can be solar panel, it can be a kind of wind turbine, it can be substation. We still need labor to go there and to do the civil work and mechanical work. And unfortunately, the new generation, they are not interested in this kind of physical work, and they want to be an investment banker or as a kind of YouTuber, etc. If you see average age of the construction workers, it is going up, right? I mean, for instance, 72% of the workers now the age of more than 55. So people on the
Ozer, and apologize interrupting you, but is this a specific area in the planet, or this is a kind of average of global average?
yeah,
It's Europe probably.
Yeah, this is Western world, right? I mean, especially we are suffering in Europe. In Europe, for instance, in Spain, we cannot find EPCs cannot find people to work. They are bringing from Argentina or Mexico. In Italy, they are bringing people from Romania, right? Because of the language things, and and Portugal, we see people coming from Brazil. And
interesting.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have another participant, Patrick, that is asking us: are there any regulations governing cobalt trafficking so that it can be traced back to the sites where is it used? I think what conflict minerals probably can be, you remember in ABB we're doing that conflict minerals.
Yeah.
Is that something that can sound a bell?
Yeah, conflict minerals definitely. If you are public company, you need to report this, right? And conflict minerals, and there are also the critical mineral acts, and you need to trace back cobalt. Also, there's a kind of the multi-stakeholder initiative, the Alliance for Cobalt, I think, and there is a kind of 360 organization, including mine owners, state of Congo, and also the users. I mean, they're trying to find a kind of way to trace the material backwards. But 100% traceability for anything, it is a kind of mission impossible.
Correct.
There are ways I will be talking about this.
Yeah, correct. I mean, to answer Patrick, the answer is yes, but certainly, I mean, ideally is not 100%. That's for sure. Too huge.
True.
Very good. So you are tackling, availability of raw materials, supply demand. You are tackling labor. I like that because in your risk assessment, it's not just about, pricing or effects of pricing. You are integrating pretty much, let's say, all the risk. Do you have anything else after the labor? I mean, you have a cocktail of issues, man. I tell you.
Indeed.
I wasn't expecting
yes.
so many problems, man.
Yeah. It's so I had more dark hair 2 years ago, but especially last 2 years, it is a bit challenge. I mean, this is the demographic, right? I mean, you and I, Raffaele, we are Generation X, and we will be extinct, I think, 2040. And but you can see here, especially Generation Y and Z, right? Yeah, a bit different, right? I mean, we know from our children, and so they it is difficult. What is the solution, right? I mean, we see more and more the automation, robotics come into installation.
Right. Exactly.
And we have lean construction. I mean, instead of working with 10 people, and we are designing the processes to 5 people can do this, right?
Correct.
And these are things, and the difficulty is mother of invention, right? I mean, humanity will find a way. I hope before being too late. So another difficulty, prices are fluctuating, right? And the more than ever. So we have steep raises and the very steep dives, and especially it happened because our supply chain was in a kind of very delicate balance before COVID, and COVID showed that if very small interruption like Suez Canal, I mean, can create a kind of the butterfly effect, right? So this is also linked to the supply demand, but for instance, this light blue one is shipping, and the dark blue one is lithium. So if you are in the project business, it is very difficult to make your math, right? Because you are not building something for today. You are building something for 2027. So you never know what will be the price in 2027, right? With this condition, and you don't know what is your selling price. You don't know what is your buying price, right? I mean, this is the difficulty.
I think hold on. Also, stay there.
Sure.
Stay there, because there is a question from Bernard, and again, I will probably convey my message in his question as well. So, do you think it is possible to have all the cars in electric power in the future? Because what we're talking here is essentially a scenario of scarcity, right? I mean, we have big fluctuations, human resources that are going down, raw materials that are key are either monopolistic situation or scarcity at all. I mean, copper, you said it right. And I've been following copper for other issues. And yeah, the scenario is essentially that you need to run out of copper. So people are talking about different other materials, aluminum, for instance, but it doesn't have the same properties, you know that. So question from Bernard is that, will that be, a break to have all the cars in the future powered by electricity? Or there will be kind of different technologies out there? It's a little bit of crystal ball question, but with all these concerns, whether the end use like cars will be achieved at all.
Yeah, if you look at the electric cars, right, and if you use internal combustion engine car, you are losing lots of energy of fuel for the mechanical losses, right? But electric cars is almost 1-to-1. So
Correct.
first of all, it is more efficient, right? I mean, if you electrify everything, you will be using less energy, in fact, because of 30% of energy you lose during the producing it or during the transmitting it, right? But with electrification, you don't have it. But if you switch everything to electrification, you need infrastructure to charge them, right? I mean, because we are now, for the time being, we are thinking like conventional charging. There will be different charging methods probably in the future, right? And also the hydrogen, right? I mean, I'm not a believer of hydrogen. This is my personal opinion, because you are using the solar energy to create the green hydrogen and using it for internal combustion engine. Again, same thing. Keep in mind, if you are talking about the fuel, it can be a fuel oil, it can be hydrogen, it can be nuclear. These are not sustainable because you need a logistic for this fuel. In fact, oil companies making money for this logistics, not from exploration and selling it. They are carrying with the super tankers. They have pipelines. This is how they make money, right? If you look at who is after hydrogen, this is again oil company. I'm a bit activist in this regard. I'm very I'm very against oil majors, but this is my personal opinion. So I believe that yes, automotive and the public transportation electrification is enough. But if you want to go fast, maybe you need a kind of new generation of Concorde. You need hydrogen. But the thing why you need to go so fast, right?
Correct.
But 100 years ago, I mean, you were sailing, what's the transatlantic. Why we are in hurry, and we have everything.
Philosophical thing. As you can see, guys, I mean, we're in a supply chain management, conference, and but this is all. But again, let's keep going because we have we have 30 minutes to go. But I think we have a lot of pages to cover, or a few more pages.
Yeah.
But this is a good one. Tell us about this one, man.
Yeah, here on the wind is another troublesome alternative, right? And if you look at the blue line, this is European manufacturers like Vestas, Siemens, and the Gamesa, whoever, Nordex. But you look at the orange line, China. European price going up, Chinese price coming down. They are buying exactly the same thing, right? And now there is a very limited footprint of Chinese manufacturers in Europe, but they are coming. This is exactly the same thing happening because the European manufacturers are struggling. If you look at here, this green line, profitability of Western manufacturers, they are all in red, but with the higher price here, right? They are selling expensive, China is selling cheap, China making profit, European making loss. So meaning that
do you mind just do you mind just highlighting the curve? I don't know if you have your mouse and probably helping
this
people
blue
in
line
this is clear. This is clear.
Yes.
All right.
Other one is the green line for European manufacturers' profitability.
And this on the bottom, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but anyway, this will be essentially China. Is that correct, or did I get it right?
No, this is the green one is non-Chinese. This is Western.
Got it. Okay. And then this is the one that you are talking about, and I'm on
blue
the blue
one. Blue one is here Chinese manufacturers, right? This is complete opposite. China is selling cheap, making profit. Western selling expensive, making loss.
Well, we're looking at the same situation, Ozer, and I'm taking the chance of the question from Bernard on the electric cars. And I don't know if you see lately, everyone, Xiaomi, a telephone manufacturer, launched their car, and it happens to be like the next generation of cars. I mean, being a telephone manufacturer, and they are making a lot of money on that one. I mean, profitability is positive. So anyway, the challenge is going to be always it's not low cost manufacturing anymore. I think it's innovation. I believe
it's innovation and the scale. I mean, scale of economies, right? I mean,
correct.
And also Chinese government supporting manufacturers, right? I mean, they have incentives.
Correct.
And the in some part of China, they can buy electricity for free, and this is the main difficulty. And this was the second one. Third difficulty is curse of innovation, right? I mean, so because everybody wants to be competitive, they want to gain some market share, they are bringing new products into market without properly tested, right? You can see here the blue line, how the solar panels power went up in over years. Also, the middle chart is turbine capacity for the wind. It's very steep, and the engineers are under pressure to push their safety margins to the limit, right? And this is what happened to Siemens Gamesa. They introduced a platform to the market without properly tested, and they failed for entire the platform, and they need to stop and go back to drawing board for next 2 years, right? I mean, also in developer, we are a bit reluctant, okay, which technology we are going to buy, new technology, latest technology, or we should wait for a couple of years, or it will be already redundant after a couple of years. So this is also a kind of big dilemma of the developer, right? Yeah, I don't know if any one of you been in Amsterdam. I think, Raffaele, you remember this?
Of course, man.
In Amsterdam houses, there is no curtain almost. right? There's a reason behind. It is dating back to 17th century, the Calvinism, showing that, look, I mean, I'm a good person, I have nothing to hide. You can look front window, you can see the back garden. And because Dutch society is very close knitted, and everybody support each other, right? And checking each other, and you can get a visit from police because your neighbor maybe reported you for something. You never know. And but this is transparency. Also, in 20th century, this is a kind of show off, right? I mean, it's all about look what I have. This is a new design, right? A new furniture. You can benchmark, kind of. This is the fourth difficulty we have: supply chain transparency. Transparency needed to develop the trust, because you can trust this person because they have nothing to hide. If you have curtains are closed, this creates a kind of question mark in our the minds, right? I mean, why? So about 2-3 years ago, and the solar industry came to know that at the Xinjiang region in China, hosting lots of solar raw material production, and they are using Chinese, the Uyghur, the forced labor, right? Forced labor meaning that they are employing people involuntarily, like a prison. They cannot go to their houses. They are not paid, and so this created a big issue in the market. I mean, everybody in this industry were caught unprepared. So you cannot go there and audit, and but there are complete the lack of transparency. So
question, Ozer, because it's probably Bernard again, but my question, you will be also accompanying his. China is also mastering a lot of technologies, and you being stressing the fact that they are in a very strong position from supply point of view. I mean, couple of questions. Do you think that will change? Because now we are talking about transparency, so sustainability, everything that is environmentally oriented, but also sustainable, and transparency is probably, ESG kind of thing. So I think it's a philosophical question, more a crystal ball question. Do you think that will change? I mean, that China will lose that podium, that place in the podium?
Yeah, we should rewind the tape, right? I mean, we should understand how China came to this position, right? So it is not easy to block China, right? I mean, and when you have a kind of a net zero target, right? You need China. You need China, but procurement with purpose, meaning that you can change the behaviors of your suppliers by using your purchasing power.
Correct. So that's a good one. That's a good one.
You can unite. As buyers, we are united, right? We are representing a couple of 100 gigawatts, and we are approaching Chinese manufacturers. Look, if you are not transparent, I will not buy from you, right? Your market will shrink. So of course they cannot go back to Chinese Communist Party. Oh, I cannot, I cannot sell, but there are things they can do, right? I mean, and they can treat people right. They can employ these people, because what is happening? If you, I'm cautious because I will go to China. I want to come back in June. So if you look at the regions around China, like Xinjiang, Inner Mongolia, Tibet, Yunnan, or Manchuria, these are the territories they acquired in 20th century. So the Han people, they are not majority in those regions. So they are trying to create a kind of homogeneous nation, right? That's why they are not very tolerant to the minorities. It's a kind of systematic assimilation, right? And For if you look at the Xinjiang, for instance, you remember LM Wind Power, we had a plant in Urumqi, it's a capital city of Xinjiang. When we went there, we didn't see any local people. They don't hire local people, right? And it is like in Spain, they don't hire bus people or Catalans. I mean, just an example, right? Or Kurdish people in Turkey, right? It's the same kind of discrimination. So, but Chinese government take it seriously, and it's a kind of, they label it or sugarcoat it like a poverty alleviation program. They say that those habitants are poor people and we have to give them job. What they are doing, they are taking their land, they are putting them as a kind of re-education camps, and then they're placing them into factories. So if you look at Xinjiang, it is not only solar panels, but Xinjiang was the biggest source for tomato, and the Heinz ketchup using maybe 50% they were using, Xinjiang tomato, and cotton. And the Xinjiang is using coal for energy. I mean, they have very cheap energy. That's why they can offer it almost for free, right? And this was the main difficulty. And the thing is that issue is there maybe 20 years, or I've been there 20 years, but suddenly we came to now it's 2 years, 3 years. It's a bit a kind of hypocrisy, right? And so yeah, this is the.
But then you as a supply chainer, I mean, if I know you are going to keep and telling us what are you doing in terms of resolving that, because it's a big challenge, Ozer. You got shortages in raw material, labor, transparency issues. So tell us about your plan. I mean, I know there are a few pages to go, but keep going, because I think you are creating the expectation that that I believe is happening.
Yeah, what is happening, right? I mean, we look with industry, we were shocked, and we started to ask, are you buying from this Xinjiang region, right? I mean, there are two two answers to this question. Either they said that we don't know, or they said, oh, we don't buy from this region, we are buying from another region. And if you make a kind of very high level blockchain calculation, right? If you sum up non-Xinjiang material, you are ending up more capacity needed. So they are telling lies, or they are not telling the truth, let's put it this way, because either they don't know really, because supply chains are not fully traceable, transparent, or second option, that they know but they don't want to tell. This is, we call it green hushing. They're saying, shh, we don't know. I mean, so you can understand basically from the reaction time, and sometimes they ask back to China. China is thinking that you can get your answer in 1 week time. So basically, your answer is staged, right? And so then industry associations or the stakeholders, we assess the situation, right? Because nobody wants to take a reputation risk, especially if you are lending money, right? European Investment Bank or the World Bank, they never want to be ending up a kind of, oh, we finance a project with the forced labor inside. Right? I mean, that's why now they are asking very stringent questions. Right? So as solar industry, we looked, and what are the other examples we can benchmark, right? I mean, this is not happening first time to us. In fact, this if you look at Adidas, Nike, they had this problem after this Bangladesh, the building collapsed. Correct. Right? And also the cobalt or cotton, textile, they went through. I mean, they have been going through this. And we talk with those people and also consultants and in those multi-stakeholder initiatives, and we created our own initiative, Solar Power Europe, and it's called Solar Stewardship Initiative, SSI, and to increase the transparency, right? I mean, lowest level of transparency, you have code of conduct. You are asking your suppliers to sign I'm not doing anything wrong, right? So this is self-declaration. And usually they are not getting this from their sub-suppliers. You have very limited. You have only your level 1, tier 1. But Solar Stewardship Initiative is targeting to get it until full disclosure and until the raw material, right? I mean, solar panel, we should go to source of polysilicon to metallic grade silicon and the quartz. In the end, solar panels are made of quartz, like sand, right? You need to melt the sand and make it profile. So if you have all your supply chain are clean, green light, so this is the ideal state, right? In the right hand. For time being, so we started here, visibility barrier, right? And the but if you go all the way upstream to mine, and you see that everything is clean and the people are treated according to universal standards, there's no any negative impact on environment, there is no corruption, then those products will be certified, and there will be a kind of QR code on it. You can scan, you can see the source. I mean, there are industries for Patagonia. You can scan this label, you can see where this cotton coming from, for instance, right?
Correct. Also in the food industry is quite developed. The QRs, essentially QR, but it's a blockchain-based technology. So anyway.
Yeah.
But here what you're saying is that supplier number 2, I mean, if you go back one page, is that supplier number 2, I mean, the whole value chain is clearly identified, and this is what you guys are aiming in 2025. Is that correct?
Correct. For instance, if you look at this
Big
node,
challenge.
right? Yeah. This node, they're also buying from the orange supplier. They're blending.
Correct.
That's why this is not. I mean, this is the way. I mean, there's a classic example, right? I mean, somebody goes to India, they're buying the brake pads for the cars, right? And the European guy is asking maybe BMW, and he see they are using asbestos, right? He says that the owner of the company, they use asbestos here. I mean, he said, don't worry, sir, we are not going to ship it to you, right? But this is asbestos, right? This is dangerous for your own.
You shouldn't use it, exactly. You shouldn't use it for your own good, exactly.
Exactly. So this is bifurcation, right? I mean, the segregating your supply chain. Okay, this is asbestos. This is not.
Right.
This is this
for
company,
the norm,
right?
All right.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you give it to me or not. This is your company, and this is your mindset, right? I mean, this is different.
Very good. There is one question. I don't know if I want to do it now, but it's Patrick. Is what should countries that have not yet made renewable energy a priority and that are world leaders in environmental protection do to cope with supply chain disruptions? Case of, for example, the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's a tough question because, I mean, developed countries are pretty much engaged. I think on the screen, I think on the surface, developed or large countries that are engaged on the environmental issues are visibly engaged. But you're right. I mean, Congo, Patrick, we just mentioned a few minutes ago, but it's since many years there has been this doctrine called conflict minerals. In order to avoid precisely to get material from this country because of the labor abuse and mines and environmental abuse in general. So there is a certain point of way, but Ozer was answering also that 100% doesn't exist. So there is always going to be like leakages or ways to escape to the rule. So I don't know, Ozer, if you want to add some time, but by the way, we have 8 minutes to go, by the way.
If you look into mine business, right? I mean, there are, when you say mines, I mean open pit and the very professional equipment working. Yes, maybe 80% or 90% they're mined like this, but there are like 10% we call artisanal miners because they know that there's a value. They are going themselves and digging They're finding the diamonds or cobalt, and they're bringing this in the bags to the wholesalers, right? I mean, collectors. Maybe they're getting paid maybe half of it, and they need to sell it to for them to leave, right? You can, I mean, this is the thing. You can choose, okay, I will not buy from this guy, let them die, or you will integrate them, right? And this is all. That's why you need to cooperate with the governments and the non-government organization or other interest groups to increase the life standards of those people, right? It is not simply saying that, okay, we will not buy from them, right? That's why the issue is complex. So compliance, saying that, okay, I will not buy from you, right or wrong, but we should maybe we should pay more, right? I mean, for the improving their conditions, right? And the for time being, for solar industry is paying a kind of premium for traceability, because traceable material, it is more expensive than non-traceable material. It's like organic coffee. You go buy from the Starbucks organic, you are ready to pay more, right? But are you sure it's 100% organic?
Correct.
It's
Well, food is advanced, also, right? I mean, we're talking, of course, an area that is still to catch up, but food is quite well, not in a whole 100% basis, but food is quite advanced in terms of traceability because of
exactly.
the need of doing it.
And also
Right.
in food, right? You can use a kind of DNA analysis, and you can see that where it's coming from. In fact, right? I mean, you can easily detect the source of origin. And to increase last 5 minutes to transparency, there are different methods, and the one method is that using this trace elements. We are working on this for solar industry. If your supplier are not cooperating, we can look into the samples and we can see where this polysilicon coming from. This is very early stage development, is a proof of concept stage. But as you said, Raffaele, in food, for instance, you can differentiate a northern Italian apple from the a bit southern, right? I mean, you can see from these isotopes sticking on the apple, and they're also using this in textile for cotton. They can easily understand if there's a kind of blend from Xinjiang cotton in this any t-shirt, right? So this is coming, and science will be providing some the solutions and to this challenge.
By the way, just for the sake of well, we don't have too much time, but in our school, essentially, if you go to the previous page, and I'm talking to the audience, that circle on the left, pay attention, because you have in that page pretty much all the traceability possibilities. And I know some of you guys are working on different theses regarding to traceability and everything that is related to traceability. So anyway, pay attention to this page. I hope also these pages will be available for the audience if you allow
Yeah.
us, because it's a rich resource, guys, for also your own work. And pay attention to that. I mean, this is the purpose of these webinars, is that you take advantage of what Ozer is doing in this field, but that you can withdraw to your field wherever you are and whoever you are working for. So sorry for that, but anyway, worth to mention this page. I love it, this one, by the way.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this document will be available to you, and you can use. And if you need more information, feel free. And the world is becoming more VUCA, right? I mean, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguity. First thing you should do in this situation is just calm down, right? I mean, panic will not solve anything. You need
Supply
more.
chain is here.
Yeah, and
Calm down. Supply chain is here.
yeah, you need the data. You need to make decisions based on the information, and you need to move fast, right? I mean, you make a decision, learn from your mistake, right? I mean, if you wait for ideal time, it will never come, right? I mean,
correct,
because the go ahead and the test the market and the learn from it, and the speed over perfection, right? And also this page for 4 challenges. What can we do and to mitigate those risks? And but I can in last 1 minute. Collaboration is the key, right? I mean, with your partners. I mean, it is not a kind of and the arm length and the competitive environment anymore. You should focus. You should identify your partners and develop relationship with them. Solve the problems together, right? I mean, so this is how automotive has been working in the last 50 years. Right? If you look at Toyota, they have been using one company, Denso, in last 100 years. They don't even think about changing them, but if they have problem, they are solving together, right? And
Correct.
yeah, this is
TPS.
outlook. But last 1 minute, any questions? And the
Well, I think Bernard is putting us in a reflection mode. I mean, and I will probably take it. But if the supply chain changed during and after COVID, I mean, do you think it is necessary to have this kind of crisis for changing what we call supply chain? I mean, I'll let you answer, and then I'll take the last 30 seconds.
yeah, supply chains are not linear anymore, right? I mean, they are more. We are talking about it's about also this ambiguity and the complexity. You never know what will be stopping you, right? And this can be a small gas or small component you never identified. There's a big project in Calabria, no, it's Catania, in Italy. They are building a big solar panel manufacturing locally in Europe, like a gigawatt level. And I said, where do you get the wafer, right? I mean, from China. So it doesn't mean, right, how big your production in Europe. Your dependence on China will be your bottleneck, right? And the supply chains will evolve, but it will be evolving around, unfortunately, geopolitics, right?
Correct.
So we are talking about
Pay attention to that.
Yeah, near shoring, friend shoring. What does it mean? It's not only about distance, but also the doing business with the same jurisdiction or jurisdiction you can control, right? I mean, so you have signed a deal. It is valid in your jurisdiction or not, and this will be the case.
Well, I like to first of all thank you 1,000 times, Ozer. I mean, it's been rich. But guys, I mean, coming back to Bernard's question, and I would like to take advantage of concluding what you heard, guys, today. Of course, it's a word that is kind of complex. I mean, we have shortages of materials and labor. You have monopolistic situation. You have accessibility to pretty much everything, or looking beyond the tier one, or even where is it coming from, this raw material. But then to Bernard's question, have we changed since COVID? Probably the answer is yes, because it was exacerbated. I mean, it was completely boosted. And we talk about this bullwhip effect. But I would say that all the fundamentals, guys, that you have heard from Ozer, and we're in 2024, yeah, we've been talking supply chain management for quite some time. However, today, and I like this page, and you leave it there, is VUCA or BANI. Now we call it BANI, by the way, Ozer. It's a BANI because VUCA is the Cold War statement. Can you imagine, man? You and I were working in VUCA war. Now it's BANI. So anyway, long story short, my friends, is that now the war is completely bananas. And yes, but however, the fundamentals of risk management, transparency and traceability, planification, and what Ozer said at the end, collaboration, you see, I mean, that is a kind of foundation level that doesn't change in time. However, you need now more technology, you need now more leverage, and be smart to leverage against monopolistic situation like we've been talking so far. So anyway, there are a few questions about your presentation. I think yes, we can have you can have that presentation. By the way, Ozer is everywhere on LinkedIn. I would strongly suggest to follow his profile, for one reason, because he's doing webinars and participating in salons that are related to what he's talking now. So anyway, it's a kind of inspirational thing, guys. But more information you get, more ways of looking at problems you get, better you are at your job as a supply chainer.
Yeah.
With that, yes, please, Ozer.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. And feel free to reach out, to link me in. There's no stupid question and there's no perfect answer. And I will try to help you for free.
Appreciate it, my friends. Hey, thank you for being there, all of you, those of you that were staying from the beginning. So next time it will be another passionate theme. So anyway, Ozer, thank you again for your participation. There are 2 thumbs up flying in the screen. So well done, and look forward. Probably we need to have a second chance, man, here, and let's figure it out. But probably before the end of the year. Let's see.
Anytime. I really
Hey, have a
appreciate the
great.
participation. Great.
On the contrary, man. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you again, Ozer, for your kindness. Take care,
Okay.
buddy.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.